welcome to Street Meat. This will be another video in the revival of the lathe. Anyhow, I've had a pretty good week with this lathe, and I'll bring in a little bit closer and I'll show you some of the things that I've managed to achieve. So there's been a bit of off-camera work and lots of great information in the comments, so I'm learning as I go. My normal channel content, as I've said, is not repairing old machinery like this. It's normally panel beating. So on that note, I'm welcoming all the information I can get. Anyhow, coming in a bit closer and we'll have a look. Right, so last week we covered the welding of the gate mechanism, and we got all that back in and it's very happy. I have cleaned out the gearbox, been getting a lot of information on how to adapt this for a 3-jaw chuck. That's all appreciated. I'm working on that one. What I have done off camera, and I'll chuck up a couple of photos now that'll overlay this, I took this wheel off because it had a broken handle sticking out there. I've ordered a new handle. You'll laugh at this. I got it from Temu. It was like $6, and for that sort of money, it might have been $8. For that sort of money, it's not worth my time mucking around. And talking to a mate, he bought one and he said, yeah, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. So this was broken through here, and I'll show a couple of photos now of that. We got welded the same way. A couple of people saying don't use the oxy torch on the anvil. Well, one guy said that, not a couple. Yeah, it's an anvil. I've been doing it that way for over 40 years. I haven't hurt the surface of the anvil. So I also got online, and I'm putting this back to 3-phase. We've done some testing on the motor, and I'll show you a couple of photos of that. We've decided that the 3-phase motor, we decided that the 3-phase motor has got life in it, and here's some photos of my friend John testing the motor in a short video. And what we also have decided is, because I've got 3-phase power right here, that's not live, of course, it's got to be connected to the fuse board. It's just been run underneath the concrete when I put the slab in recently. I got an on-off switch. Got that really cheap on Trade Me. It's New Zealand standard, so it all complies. $44. Can't complain about that. They're a couple $100 if you go to some of the normal normal electrical supply outfits. And I got a 3-phase RCB for the fuse board. So all of our electrical connections, when we hook up a new machine or we're hooking up anything, we give it its own circuit, so you're not throwing the circuits on everything. Rightio, so now we'll cut back to the lid repair, and I'm going to carry on with that. I did a bit of filming last night before dinner on that one, and I'll get back into that now. So, okay, so last episode I said I'm going to fix this mess. In next episode, this will be a little bit of a shorter episode because I don't really have a lot of time. The gearbox cover is the last of the major smashed parts on the lathe that is going to need some sort of repair. It's only a cover. This is made from cast aluminum if you're American. We call it aluminium. Now, I'm not going to try and weld that because all the parts are very, very distorted. Some of them are missing, and you'd end up with a weld that looks like Freddy Krueger's face. I'm not interested in doing that. What I am going to do, I'm going to cut this out in a nice, neat pattern. I've got a piece of, looks like 3 or 4 mil aluminium sheet, and I'm going to form that and make that shape over there. So I'm going to do a bit of a curve shape. And what's going to happen, I'm going to cut this out And if you look on the other side, I've got to try and pull this faceplate off. If anyone has a one of these covers to suit one of these Mitchell lathes, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'm probably not going to buy it though. I'm most likely just going to fix this one because I'm looking for a cheap, effective repair. I don't need to spend a lot of time and money on, well, I don't mind spending the time, but I don't want to spend a lot of money on parts when I can fix things. This is just a gearbox cover. It's to stop the oil from flying out and things from falling in. It's access for the gears. It comes off and you can get into the gearbox. I will try and remove this plate. Now, the reason I'm going to do a patch here is because this plate effectively covers the big hole that's been smashed in the other side. And if the nameplate can't be saved, it's not the end of the world, but I'll try and save it the best I can. And all I want to do is I'm going to cut this out. You can see the rivets in here. I'm going to form this to be the same shape as that. It is then going to be screwed and glued in place. I'm not even going to bother welding it. I don't need to waste time welding cast aluminium. It's going to serve no purpose whatsoever. This is not a structural part. It is just a gearbox cover. If I was to weld this, it's going to be a big mess of welds and a lot of the parts are missing and just too damaged. Not worth doing it that way. So right now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this plate off. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down and form that to be the same curve as in here, and we'll go from there. So that's what this... Righty go. Okay, I've cleaned this up and this is cast alloy, as I said. This hole, I'm probably going to leave it as it is. I might clean it up slightly just so there's no sharp edges. I'm not worried about the cracks up here. Nothing feels like it's going to let go anytime soon. If anyone has one of these nameplates, that'd be good. However, I'm most likely, I'm most likely going to fix this, the Mitchell of Keechley. Hopefully I've got that pronunciation right. Yet again, I keep getting corrected. I'll probably panel beat this out the best I can. I'm going to now make a plate to go over here, and it will go back in the same rivet holes. The rivets I removed and they were just pushed in. They have a knurl on them, and that should encapsulate this plate as well. I'm going to glue this plate onto here using some Sikaflex or urethane, and when this is all painted, it's not going to matter. it won't leak oil, it's not going to fall apart, it will protect the gears, it'll do the job I want it to do. If you want to do it differently, you can go and get your own lathe and let it fall over and smash it, and then you can repair it your way. This is how I'm repairing this. So I don't need to be schooled in how to weld this and all of that. I'm not interested in it. I have got the facilities here to weld cast alloy, sorry. I use gas and some flux and some aluminium rods, and I can do that. I've done it in the past. In this situation, there's just absolutely no need to do that. It's not necessary. I'm not going to burn up a heap of time doing something I don't have to do. So if this sort of repair triggers you, then you're going to have to deal with that. That's not my problem. I really don't care. I'm not setting out to annoy people. I'm just setting out to show how I'm fixing this. I'm missing a lot of these pieces and they're just all out of shape. If I try to straighten them, it's like welding cornflakes together. It's not worth my time. So we'll put a patch in it. This nameplate will go back over here. It all gets painted up, job done. Not worried about the hairline cracks there. They're not hurting anyone. So it'll be fine. Rightio. So I'll put it back on time lapse and I'll crack into it. I'll try to determine which I'm going to do first. I might try and straighten the nameplate out and I'll just clean that up, degrease it first. Cool. So I'm making this up as I go along, of course. Where I'm up to is, you've just seen the time lapse, I had to go at fixing the nameplate, and I do apologise, I keep on getting the name wrong. It is Mitchell of Keithley, not Keechley. I keep saying Keechley. I saw a video where that was how it was pronounced. Anyhow, I was able to weld the hole up. I've straightened it out a little bit. I think it's not really worth persevering with much more than that. I just really wanted to see, could I weld it up? Yes, I can. That's a bit of silicon bronze. It's going to look a bit huckery, so I'm not going to use it. So what I'm going to do is, the new plan that's developing is I have a cunning plan on how I'm going to roll that, and I need a profile which I have taken earlier, and the profile just going to go around. So using my profile gauge, I need to form this aluminium around something that's roughly that. And I had a bit of a walk around off camera looking for something, and I think I found exactly what I want. So I'll bring that in shortly. What I'm going to do now, I will make this plate go over this hole. I don't think I'm going to do much with this hole. I'm pretty much going to leave it like that. And I'm making a plate to go over the top of it. It will be slightly bigger than the nameplate because there was a bit of a hole here that the nameplate, as you can see, there's the rivets. So that hole was being covered. So rather than try and repair that or persevere with it, what I might do is simply make a different feature plate. If I need to, I can print out a sticker or a decal that looks exactly like that and just stick it over there. When it's all painted up, it doesn't really matter. I'm not looking for a 100 point restoration. I just need to make this thing functional. So I'll chuck the camera back up on the stand, and I will get to folding this up. You might have a bit of a giggle at how I'm going to do that. Right, so my cunning plan is a half round fence post because all I'm looking for is a shape, and my profile just happens to match this half round. I'm just going to bend this up just by hand around there and then probably over bend it and then push it back out to where it needs to be so it'll match that profile. That's all there is to it. I don't need to make this into a major metalworking session. There's just no need to. So I'll get to it. I'll chuck back on time lapse and I'll turn this up the other way and I'll clamp. I think I've worked out around about here. I'll clamp all that down and I'll fold it up. I did make sure the sheep weren't using the gate, this fence post. There seemed to be a spare one. I wasn't attacked by any sheep, so that was all good. Let's get to it. Alrighty-o. So the half round fence post works a treat. You got to understand, I'm somewhat of a bush mechanic. You don't get much, or bush engineer, and you don't really get much more bush. You don't get much more bush than using what's around you, namely fence posts. So there is no cheap way. Everything is a mandrel, and mandrels are for shaping around. So hammers and dollies, bits of wood, whatever works. So I'll give this back to the sheep, and I've been watching a little bit of John Clark and his famous character Fred Dagg, and I thought, what would Fred Dagg do? Of course, he'd go and pinch one of these fence posts off one of his sons, Trevor. So I thought it works for him. It'll work for me. All right, I'll get rid of this and I'll show you how that went. So let's run away from the camera. Okay, right. So that's the shape I'm looking for. That's the shape I made. And I managed to do it all nice and straight. let's have a look how good I was. I'm pretty happy with that. Nice and straight, there was no bend in the middle. That's what I was worried about. Wouldn't matter if there was. So this shall now go over here and it'll just look like it was always meant to be there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this down and it'll cover up some of the unsightly cracks. I might just panel beat this down a little bit. This is still a little bit high, or I might not panel beat it down at all. I don't want to start hitting on this too much. It might not like me doing that. So I might just put a little bit of pressure on it. Panel hammer. No, I'm not going to hit that. I'm just listening to it and it's just going to break. And this whole thing will get snapped in two. So yeah, pick your battles. Always give up while you're ahead. That's been my motto in life. Right, so from here, I'm going to cut this down, set that, that'll get drilled out and go on here, and that'll be pretty much this job done. From there, it will get screwed and glued. So I will, it's just about dinner time and knock off time now, but I will cut this down and then it'll be all set for the morning, and hopefully I can get this done tomorrow. But I'm pretty pleased with that. Just pretty simple, bit of scrap metal lying around. I never paid for this scrap metal. I didn't pay for the post, and this is what I like to do. Try and find a penniless way of moving forward. What can you fix using what you've got? That's what all this video is about. It's not about let's find the most technical way to weld cast aluminium or the most technical way to weld cast iron. Let's just get it done. The rest of my career is being absolutely clinical on panel work. It's good to come across to some of this sort of thing and just do a repair and not get so caught up in trying to make everything perfect. You know, the nameplate's a fail, but I don't really care. It's just the nameplate. It's not going to make the lathe work any better. However, I'll get to it, and yeah, I'll chuck you back on time lapse again. Rightio, I have cut this down and I'm pretty happy with, I just put it over in the folder just now and just give it just a little tweak around. I'm pretty happy with that profile there. And as you can see, this probably isn't the world's prettiest. It's also not the world's ugliest repair. So from here, I will trim down one side a little bit just so it fits within that radius. But you can see here, that's pretty close. This cast cover is not very symmetrical. In other words, it's got a lot of different shapes and things going on. I can panel beat this down a little bit. It fits better on this side. I'm going to bolt this down to this plate, so it'll have a series of probably some stainless hardware just to fasten this to that. I'm going to glue it as well, purely just so the oil's not leaking out around the sides. I had to cut a piece out of it because in the fall over accident. This was pushed up out of shape, and I didn't want to try and panel beat it because it's just going to break the whole piece. Yeah, just looking at these shapes, they were rough sand casting when they made these. I'm going to drill the end of the hole, I'm going to drill a hole in the end of the crack so the crack can't travel any further. I'll do that there, and that's all it needs. It just needs these two drilling so the crack can't travel any further. The rest of this is pretty substantial. It'll do the job that I need it to do. It's like I said, I'm not trying to do a perfect concourse restoration on this. I just need to make this thing functional. And that's going to do for today. I've got people coming tomorrow, so normally I'll make these videos on a Saturday. This is Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and I generally don't knock off early on a Friday, but I've been sanding that Holden ute there, and my arms and my neck are killing me, so I thought I'll go and do something else. I'm getting too old for that stuff to persevere, hurting myself. Your health is your wealth, so especially here. So if you're sick of something, or you've done a fair day's work, or like you've done a fair day's work, stop and give yourself a rest. Go and do something else. Right, I'm going to leave this and we'll resume this in the morning. My cat's outside telling me it's time for dinner, so I better go and listen to him. Okay, it's next morning, and the old brain is refreshed. I lie awake at night thinking about how I'm going to move on with the next bit. So far I'm pretty happy with my cover I've come up with. I think I'm going to make a feature of this, so I'm not looking to do a concourse restoration on this thing. It doesn't have to be detailed perfect as it was originally. In other words, it'll be perfect in the sense it's repaired. It's not going to be perfect in the sense that it's utterly original. It's a lathe, for goodness sake. It's not a classic car. Don't want to start arguments on that one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim this down to fit, and I think I said that last night, and I will most likely radius the edges. I'm probably even going to polish this quickly just to make it look a little bit shinier, just so I can see what I'm doing. I'll probably radius these edges. I'm going to fix it down with some stainless screws, as I've said, and I'll probably countersink those. I'm just going to have a look at what I've got. I haven't been off to my cupboard yet and had a look at what hardware I've got. I work with what I have, and it's so I can keep moving forward. I've got a ridiculous number of projects, and I don't need to get bogged down on little details. I'm probably going to get a little bit bogged down on this because that's just me. That's what I do. So less talking, more cutting, more shaping, and yeah. Once again, if you like what you see, don't hesitate to comment, and it is all appreciated. Even the bad stuff, I get a laugh out of it. I don't take offence very easily. I've got a very forgiving nature, and even when someone's having a go at me, I'll just like the comment. It just shuts them down straight away. This is not an invitation for everyone to start trolling me. If it gets out of hand, I just delete you off the channel, and yeah, you can go somewhere else and annoy someone else. But yep, let's get into it. bring in a little bit closer, and I'm pretty happy with my lid here. I've just given it a quick run in the bead blast cabinet, so it's been glass bead blasted. At least it looks the same colour as the rest of it. I went to my cupboard to see what I own. I have 7 of these, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 of those. So I've got a choice. I could use that style to go down through, or I could use this style, which is, focus please, which is countersunk, which would go through. Now, I'm thinking I might make life a little bit easier for myself. Initially, I'll drill a 6mm hole. These are a 6mm stainless Allen head button stud, and I only really need 6 of these in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've just quickly marked T for top. That'll get drilled out shortly, and a little bit of panel beading on this to shape this a little bit better, because this is a rough sand casting. It's not wonderful, it's not symmetrical. And I haven't forgotten, I've still got to drill a hole in the end of these cracks. I'm not overly concerned about any discrepancies. If there's any gaps or things underneath here, I'm going to do exactly what the factory did, and I'll apply a little bit of filler, even though I hate doing bog work. I really passionately hate doing bog work. I like to do metal work. However, this had filler in it to begin with, and it's going to get filler back into it because there's no real need to get overly carried away. Right now it's smoko, and I'm going to go off and have a nice cup of coffee. Possibly even a biscuit. I don't know. I need to do a little bit more panel beading down here. I just want to also show you, you'll notice that I use these lead shot bags. They're really, really good stabilizers. So if I want to work up here, it just sits there. I don't have to juggle it around on a slippery surface. It just doesn't work. So I've worked out how to incorporate some metal shaping into my lathe revival videos. Metal shaping is my passion. That's what I do. I don't normally work with aluminium or aluminum or any of those sort of materials. I'm normally working in steel. This stuff's pretty forgiving. I'm still not sure if I'm going to polish this or not. I'm probably leaning more towards not. I might just sand it down and paint this so it's not a standout feature. When the lathe is all finished, no one's going to stand back. It goes back about there. When it's all finished, no one's going to stand back and say, oh, that's not original. They're not going to know. It's all going to look the part. I'm making this up as I go along, and I'm thinking I'm just going to make a decal. Originally this was painted at infill. I think it was green over cream or something like that. I'll do a little bit more research, and I'll do the Mitchell of Keithley. See, I've got the pronunciation right at last. Mitchell of Keithley. I'm going to do this possibly in a decal, and it'll just be a sticker slapped on there. And for all intents and purposes, it's going to look fine. Would have been nice to get another nameplate. If anyone's got one that they want to donate and send all the way to New Zealand, that'd be wonderful. If you've got a whole lid that you want to donate and send to New Zealand, that would also be wonderful, but not really required. I'm not going to do all this work and then take that off and hang it up. I'm sticking with it. I'm going to use it. I think it's smoko time.
Right, back from smoko. Now we're going to mount this cover plate, but first we have to pick which screws we're going to use. We've got a button head and a countersink. I think we're going to go with the button head just because we're not going to fight the countersink on the radius. Yeah, crack into it.
Right, where were we? Where were we, Hemi? Okay, for those that aren't familiar with this channel, I have my workshop cat. This is Hemi. He's one of my rescue cats, and it's raining, and he's quite a character. And normally he's across the road in the forestry today, but the forestry has all been pulled down, and it looks like Hemi's been busy. He's marked this out for me. This is what happens when you walk away and leave your work. It's just, you come back and things are done. Never mind. Okay, so I think we've determined what studs we're going to use. We're going to use these button head studs. Why do I feel like this has all been explained already? I think the fairies have come in. Never mind. We'll carry on with it. So from here, I might move the camera around to the drill press, or I might just drill this by hand, because I might just do this by hand actually. Here's one of my drills. I've got a flat battery, flattery. I'll go and find a battery and put in that, and I'll drill these holes and chuck you back up on time lapse. And yeah, so we're getting there. I'm pretty pleased with how all this is fitting, and we have done a check to make sure that the fasteners will clear the gears in the machine. For the other side of this, I'm not going to tap a thread into that. What I'm going to do is I will use these nutserts, and the nutserts, that's a 6mm nutsert. We have some 6mm studs there. The nutsert will go onto the nutsert gun. It's like a rivet gun, and I'll put some nutserts into this and drill the holes through there, and that'll be the job done, and that'll be the cover, and this will be repaired. From here, I won't be gluing this up straight away. It'll just stay as a bolted on cover for now, until I've got all this prepped for paintwork when we come around to painting the rest of the lathe. I'm still trying to figure out how this happened. Never mind. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so there we have the finished product, with a bit of help from the workshop fairies that dropped by. Many thanks to Indy. She is a very talented fabricator, and her profession is TIG welding. Yeah, she just dropped by to say good day today, so of course we threw her in front of the camera. Just in case you're wondering who on earth was this mystery person. So, yeah. So that's the cover. I would say that that's basically all I need to do as far as the fabrication side of things go. And I think I'll just go and throw it on the lathe now and just check for fit. It should fit. And basically inside looks like that. I was going to use the nutserts and the nutsert gun. In the end I decided, why am I doing that? This plate's never going to come off again. So I've got one odd, that's an imperial thread. These are all metric 6mm, that's a 7/6 quarter inch UNC. So I'll have to go to my supplier and buy some more of those. I used up the very last. I had 7, I needed 8, and I haven't forgotten to drill a hole in that. We'll get around to that. So right now, let's go and throw this on the lathe and see how that looks. And that's basically, other than one wheel and the bent tray, that's basically the fabrication side of things wrapped up. So a couple of weekends of work, and yeah, she's all done. Let's go and have a look at it. Okay, let's just see how we got on. Does my repaired gearbox cover fit? Look at that. Fits like a glove. Fingers in a glove, it sticks out in 5 places. No, seriously, that's a pretty pleasing repair. And while it's not original, we're not trying to build a Pebbles Beach concourse classic vehicle here. All we're trying to do is repair a lathe that had toppled over. So I'm pretty pleased with the industrial look of that, and that will get painted up when we paint the machine. We'll do a bit of filler work and everything around here just to basically fair it up. There was a lot of filler work already done. I will drill that out, as I keep on saying. If I keep saying it, I'll probably remember to do it before I lose this. That's our little plug that goes in the top. And I would call that pretty much a wrap. So we have our lower gearbox gate that was smashed, that's been welded back in. The handle has been, or the gear selector has been welded up. The gearbox top cover for the top gearbox has a new plate to fill in the hole. We have repaired the broken wheel in behind here. I have a spindle handle coming. All that's left is repair that handle, which I've got here. That's the sections of it and that there. Now this handle and this one here, I am most likely going to send away and have it zinc plated. Originally they were chrome plated. I'm not paying for chrome plating on this, that's hideously expensive, and I can't afford for chrome platers to muck that up. So I'm not going to run that risk, and I just want to put this machine together. I don't want to spend a lot of unnecessary money and time on it. This has been probably 2 days work to maybe 3. We'll call it 3 days just to be generous. 3 days work to make this thing functional again. Like I said, we're going to do away with the single phase motor. We have 3-phase that we're going to put it back to. We have tested the original 3-phase motor. That's all good. There is a little ear here for a front gearbox cover. That was broken before I bought it. That's been broken for many years. I might try and come up with something for that. And the rest of it, we've got our belt covers and all that sort of thing. Still yet to pull the tray straight. There's not a lot of work in to do that. And yeah, I think from here we are going to have a winner. So that will conclude this week's episode of the Lathe Revival Part 2. Now I will come back and revisit this with a paint job and all of that sort of thing, but for now that's going to be all we're going to show on the Lathe Revival. From here on in, it's just basically set the machine up, put the 3-phase motor in. I'll most likely do another video at some stage, but don't hold your breath. It's not going to be next week or the week after. That's going to take a little bit of time. I'll see how I go. I've got a lot of workshop work that I've got to get out the door, and then in between there'll always be a little bit of work going on this. So once again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very, very much for the new subscribers and all the kind comments. It's highly appreciated. Sometimes the unkind comments are appreciated too, because it all helps the algorithm. And Goose is telling us how much he likes it. He's been in a bit of the wars today with the other goose. Yep, that's right. He hears me talking, so he's got to talk. Rightio, that will do for this week. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Can't do it without laughing. How do you not do it without laughing? Right, back from smoker, and now we're going to drill some holes to mount the radius. To not mount the radius. Do it again. To mount the, what do you call it?
The radius plate, if you want to call it. If the radius is the word radius, it sounds like you're tripping up on it. So if you feel like leaving it out, leave it out. If you feel like you can use it, use it.
Okay.
And our cover plate. It's a cover plate.
Cover plate. There we go. Okay. Apologies. Round 2.
Yeah, go.
Back from.
Sorry.
I'm gonna get really good at this little bit.
Just walk in and confirm. Right.
You sure?
Yeah.
Right, back from smoker. Now we're going to mount this cover plate, but first we have to pick which screws we're going to use. We've got a button head and a countersink. I think we're going to go with the button head just because we're not going to fight the countersink on the radius. Yeah, crack into it. Is it good enough?